Do they do it? Do Beavis and Butthead actually score? I guess we'll have to find out. What's good, everybody? My name is Josh, aka JaceTheDon, and welcome back to the channel, where today I will be giving you my review on Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. If you're new, if you're returning, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications. It really does help out the channel. Now, without further ado, let's hit that fire intro. Alright, so what did I think of Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe? I enjoyed it. It was great, it was fun, it was a funny movie. It took me back to when I was young and trying to hide from my parents watching Beavis and Butthead when I was younger. When it used to be on MTV, they had the 2011 revival show, and then the older episodes used to syndicate on MTV at the time. And it was fun. This movie, I would say this. If you're not a Beavis and Butthead fan, this movie will probably not be for you. But if you are a fan, or if you're interested in finding new cartoons or new animated movies in today's time, I think you could say that Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe is one of those animated movies that you could definitely check out. This movie, again, it took us back to the 90s. The nostalgia was hitting. The characters are still the same, they're just in a different environment. Basically, long story short, they go to a NASA space station, they get caught up in space, they get thrown out of the spaceship, and they get into a black hole, and basically they're put in 2022. There's a whole smart Beavis to smart Butthead arc where they're smarter iterations of them, and they're basically trying to tell them you need to go back to your time, or else something terrible could happen, and you'll see later on in the movie why it is. And they just go around 2022. They experience what life is like. They discover smartphones, and it's an iPhone. You can tell it's an iPhone. And they discover Apple Pay, we can pay through our phone? That's dope. They had this whole segment where they're buying a whole bunch of stuff, and they had their own condo where they were ordering nachos. It's a whole thing, it's funny. And then we get to one of my favorite parts in the movie, which is Beavis goes in the bedroom and he starts talking to Siri, because in the movie there's a female astronaut named Maria where they're both crushing on her. You know how it is. They want to score. They're horny teenagers. They want to score. So that's what they do. And it's funny because now in 2022 she's a mayor, a governor, and she wants to kill the boys because if they find out that she literally killed them in space. Nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants a politician to kill people in space. Unless you're level-headed enough to know that you wouldn't want that. So yeah, that's a whole thing. One of the scenes, there's a scene in this movie where I was like, oh god, what are they going to do here? So, Beavis and Butthead are at a university, right? And they walk into this gender studies class. And at that moment I was like, oh gosh, this could go good or this could go bad in an instant, especially in the times that we're in right now where everybody's cancel culture, I'm right, you're wrong, the whole mindset and mentality of how people are now. I think I was worried about that, but I feel like they attempted it pretty well. So basically, the lady in the class is you boys just walked in here like that. You have white privilege. And they're like, white privilege? Huh? And then there's a scene where there's a African American girl, she's trying to explain what white privilege is, and she gets cut off by this white guy. I mean, if you've been in that kind of situation, or you know somebody who's been in that kind of situation, you know how that feels. When you try to explain something, but you have somebody else butt in and tell you oh, I know more than you. They've dealt with that, right? Um, and like I said, I think they attempted that pretty well. They kind of took it off their head. Bear in mind, Beavis and Butthead are from the '90s. Okay, don't take stuff seriously. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. This is a comedy. Comedy is objective. Don't go around getting mad and upset at creators because they do this kind of stuff, because again, it's comedy. It's all subjective, objective, or whatever you want to call it, right? So they kind of like take the whole white privilege thing to their heads, and they're like, oh, I can skip the line because I got white privilege. Oh, I can take a cop car because I got white privilege, which they thought wrong because they ended up getting arrested. And in the movie, we get to see Cornholio. Like, if you know Beavis, and you know his alter ego is Cornholio. TP for my bunghole. You know that. And he's like goes around saying it in the prison, and all the prisoners like, you know what, this guy's got a point. He's kind of hitting, right? And so the warden, because he's watched Touched by an Angel, which Touched by an Angel was a show that I remember seeing growing up, and it's funny that they reference that in this. And he's like, well, maybe that maybe what they are saying is like a message. It's an actual message that someone is trying to give us. So he lets them free, and they get on the bus, which kind of gave me reminiscent vibes of Beavis and Butthead Do America, which is still like one of my all-time favorite animated movies of all time. And it was just fun. They go back to their place, and they like see how much has changed in the town of Highland, and we find out what Beavis's mom name is. Her name is Shirley, and we find out the address. I can't remember off the top of my head what the address is, but you go and look at the movie, you'll find out. Like, we find out little things that, us Beavis and Butthead fans, like, we've always been curious about and whatnot. What happened to, they had a whole thing where the lady was explaining what happened to their mom, and they kind of, like, cut it out with a loud sound, so we really don't get to hear what happened to their mom or whatever. That was funny. And then we get to a point in the movie where things start to escalate, like between Beavis and Butthead. Their like relationship, their friendship, their brotherhood starts to drift apart, and they start fighting each other. And they're like, you know what, fine, I'll go this way, I don't need you. And the other one's like, fine, I don't need you. And then there's this song that is perfectly timed. I don't know the name of the song, but I thought at that moment it was perfect. They do the whole thing where they see like a other group of friends, and they're like doing stuff that they would have done, and it makes them think of them. The whole thing, the whole scenario or whatnot. Then they get back together eventually, and I'll don't want to say too much, but I'll cut up and say that by the end of the movie, there's Smart Beavis and Smart Butthead up here, and they're supposed to like get them into the portal to go back. Well, they kind of like discuss their like feelings for Maria. They actually want to score, and she's like, wait a minute, that's all you wanted to do? You just wanted to score? They're like, yeah, the people are telling them like, yeah, they're just a bunch of like teenagers that just want sex, right? And yeah, so you're thinking at that time, are they actually going to score? Is this actually going to happen? Nope. Smart Beavis comes in, he starts doing his like he's talking some game, right? And Maria ends up going back with them. And it turns out that the man who was like, no, this wasn't supposed to happen, he ends up getting sucked into the portal. So Smart Beavis and Smart Butthead are like, we could have just thrown a brick in there and it would have been fine. It's like, nah, duh, that's what you could have done. It's just funny, like again, that happened. And, it cuts off and it ends where Beavis and Butthead are kind of like, they're in their house now, and they have a flat screen TV, which this is going into this new series. There's going to be a new series of Beavis and Butthead that's going to come out. And basically what they're going to do, back in the original series, they did like music videos, right? Talked about music videos, gave their critiques and jokes and whatever. this time around, and then in the 2011 reboot, they did like Jersey Shore, like a lot of the reality shows that were out on MTV at the time. That's what they like made jokes about that. So this time they're doing TikTok and YouTube videos, which is going to be interesting how they do that. And I hope. My only worry is that I feel like time after time after time we've gone into very sensitive times where comedy is being taken literally. Comedy is being taken as an insult to a certain a demographic or group or whatever we feel or whatever people feel like. And I feel like instead of it being comedy, which again is an objective, like it's opinionated. You don't have to agree with it or anything. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to like take you to places that you are thinking but you don't want to say, or that's the whole purpose of comedy. And I'm afraid that this is going to get canceled because of overly sensitive people who don't know how to take comedy seriously. Me, I grew up with Bernie Mac. I grew up with Martin Lawrence. I grew up with D.L. Hughley and all these other comedians. The list goes on. I grew up with that stuff, so I have thick skin. But you have people who didn't grow up with that kind of stuff and they don't have thick skin. So that's what I'm worried about. But overall, how do I feel about the movie? This is a great movie. I will say, I'll be honest, I don't think it's better than Beavis and Butthead Do America. I just feel like Beavis and Butthead Do America just hits on another level. Like I said, it's one of my favorite anime movies of all time. Matter of fact, I was watching Beavis and Butthead Do America last night, and I just cannot get over the fact of how funny and hilarious and how good this movie was. Like, I wasn't born around the time when it came out in theaters, but if I could go back in time, I would love to go back in time and actually see this movie in theaters when it premiered. I would imagine the crowd had a great time when this came out. So yeah, a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie. Would I go back to watch it? Like, yes, I would definitely go back to watch it. It's one of those movies that, how could you not, And I'd say they did a pretty good follow-up with Do America. What's next? Do the multiverse? Can we Do the multiverse? I mean, I'd be down for that. If you see the ending, you know why I say that. But Do the multiverse would be a pretty cool movie. Like, maybe to end off the series completely. I mean, who knows? I know there's like a Daria, like one of the characters, Jodie. It was supposed to be a series, but now they've changed it into a movie. So I'm interested in how they take that. Oh yeah, Daria is actually cameoed in this as well. Like, when they're in court, when they're sentenced to like the NASA space station, she's actually there in the crowd with all the other characters. You got Richard, and you got the teacher, the gym teacher, and the principal, and their teacher, of course. So it was pretty cool to like see her in the cameoed in the movie. So yeah, if you're a Beavis and Butthead fan, what did you think of the movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think they could have done some things differently? Are you ready for the new upcoming revival series that's supposed to be coming out sometime? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications. It really does help the channel. Big love to you all, and peace out.